Hello, friends. Today we are going to discuss modern Indian political thought, and the personality of whom thoughts we are going to discuss today is Aurobindo Ghosh. Friends, Aurobindo Ghosh is considered as the prophet of Indian nationalism and Renaissance. He was among the very first philosopher who provide the idea of that how a developed human being is very much important for the development of a country until and unless the freedom is not inbuilt in the countrymen, it cannot be achieved by any country. Modern Indian political thought, Aurobindo Ghosh. There is a brief introduction. He was born on 15th August 1872 and he died on 5th of December 1950. Okay, he died on 5th December 1950. Aurobindo was a philosopher thinker of India and influenced many of the Indians in the late 19th century and early 10th-20th century. And there is one more important thing about Aurobindo. He is considered as a creative figure of Indian history. He is not only a, you can say, the freedom movement activist, or you can say and only a political philosopher or a sociologist or someone else. He considered very much creative in his nature, and that is somewhat reflects from his work for the national freedom movement and of course for the renaissance of the people. His approach was a little bit different. That is why he is being considered as the father of Indian renaissance, you can say. The renaissance in the modern thought, in the modern context, was actually begun by the writings of Aurobindo. So, moving into the lecture, major areas on which Aurobindo devoted his philosophical thinking. Among many other things, the important thing about from your exam point of view is that nationalism, Swarajya and spiritual relationship of above two means the nationalism and Swarajya spiritual relationship of these two with the individual and his own freedom, and how the freedom of a single man can lead towards the freedom of the nation. That was a major contribution of Aurobindo. So if you look at the life sketch of Aurobindo, and it is very important to look into it because it is somewhat very different from those of others. Aurobindo was involved in Indian national movement for freedom as everyone else was there in the country at that time. He remained actively involved in various activities of freedom movement and also participated in radical groups led by Tilak. This is very important, and this can also be asked in your examination, that Aurobindo in his early days as an early boy in the Indian freedom movement was inspired by the thoughts of Tilak. He also participated in the activities of the radical group that was led by the Tilak. Okay. He also went to England with his father, and against Indian influence, he in England started to radicalize. Then he stayed there for almost more than 10 years. Then he studied at Manchester, London, Cambridge. During his stay at Cambridge, he joined Indian Majlis, a students' association. And from there onwards, he started to get himself into those activities. He also organized a secret society called Lotus and Dagger to uplift the motherland, of course. In 1890, Aurobindo competed the ICS examination, Indian Civil Services examination, a very prestigious examination of that time for the recruitment of the you can say, the Indian civil servants at that particular time. But he won the position but was disqualified in the riding fest. Okay. In 1893 onwards, he came back to India, joined Baroda State Services, but he didn't find himself comfortable all along there. Okay. So then in 1907 in the Calcutta session, he resigned, joined the freedom movement. He also associated himself with certain journals and periodicals like Jugantar and Bande Matram and Karma Yogi. Then in the 20th century, he worked in the direction of spiritualism. Now we will look at the literary. He was also, it is very important to inform you there, he was also, his name also reflected in the conspiracy cases like Manik Tola bomb, but of course there were no evidence, so he was acquitted. After that, he quit the politics. He quit the active politics, you can say. He was involved in the freedom movement with his literary working and all the things. Then he moved on to Chennai Nagore and later on to Pondicherry to gain spiritual enlightenment. And that spiritual enlightenment was somewhat different from others. It was also guiding a man to attain his own freedom, then the freedom of the nation, and then the upliftment of all the people of whole nation. So there are some important literary works of Aurobindo. These are life defined. It's a very nice book on the spiritualism, how the super mind concepts is actually described in life divine book. Then there are essays on Gita. It's a treatise on Gita describing the different concepts. The synthesis of yoga, Savitri, it's a poem, and the Indu Prakash Anglo-Marathi paper. Aurobindo also described the concept of integral yoga. It is a little bit different from the traditional yoga. Transformation of superficial, narrow and fragmentary human way of thinking. Aurobindo provided a very strong emphasis on the change of way of thinking. Until and unless a human cannot think differently, he cannot feel differently, he cannot actually, you can say, provide something which is different and life changing. Okay, so to attain the spiritual consciousness, you have to see the things differently. This yoga concept, the integral yoga concept, accept the value of cosmic existence. Like the traditional yoga that actually eliminates the existence of cosmic world, the materialistic world around us. Integral yoga actually accept this materialistic world, and its objective is to that you can use this materialistic world to attain the higher truth consciousness. Until and unless you do not enjoy the whole of this materialistic world, you cannot move ahead. So this was something provided differently by Aurobindo. Okay. Creation are the expression not of ignorance and imperfection. You cannot ignore anything that is all around you. You have to get ahead of it. You have to find an edge onto it, and that is why it is very important to enjoy the material world around you in order to find the higher spiritual consciousness, higher truth consciousness in order to find the truth. Okay. Now, the spiritual thought, as I have already told you, he was actually influenced by both the philosophical idealism of Indian tradition, like yoga and other things, the Indian tradition, and the materialistic view of the nature of European tradition. The European philosopher which used to say that the world is a reality, the materialistic world is a reality, and you have to get a hold of it. So Aurobindo was of the opinion that you have to combine these things in order to attain the higher consciousness. Aurobindo is referred as the best synthesis of Asian and European culture. This is very important. Again, I am highlighting this point. Aurobindo can be referred as the best synthesis of Asian and European culture. He also described that concept of supermind in his book Life Divine, where he says that the supermind can be achieved by the direction of a teacher to his pupil. And after attaining that certain level of consciousness, a pupil himself can expand his way of thinking, way of feeling. Okay. Now comes the political thought, which are also very important from the point of view of your examination. The political thought of Aurobindo, very important to say that if we carefully analyze the work of Aurobindo in the context of Indian national freedom, we can derive that he substantiated too many things, and among them the freedom, the concept of freedom was very important. He was of the opinion that to attain the spiritual ideology, which is the best stage of human development, it cannot be attained without the freedom of thought, without the freedom of expression, without the freedom of thinking, without the freedom of work, and many other freedom which are actually described over the period of time. He opined that until and unless an individual do not have freedom to do anything, everything, he cannot attain that best stage of human development. That is why he is described Swarajya in a very different way. For other political leaders, Swarajya was like the home rule. But he do not describe Swaraj in only in political terms. He also described it is eliminating the political control. There should not be any political control, whether the someone else's or your own. Rather, he described Swarajya in spiritual terms. And he established that political freedom is useless until and unless one get spiritual freedom. If suppose you get political freedom, you get home rule, you get self rule, but you are not free to think anything. If you are bounded to think in a certain direction, that freedom is not a true freedom. Okay, so the duty of a state for its people lies towards providing them the every opportunity so that they can extend their way towards the spiritual freedom. Okay, so friends, that was the lecture. Highlights of the lecture were theory of evolution as provided by the Aurobindo, the supermind concept. He says that the supermind can be achieved by the direction of a teacher. Relationship of spiritual thoughts with those of materialistic world, as I have already told you, Aurobindo can be considered as the synthesis of European plus Indian traditional. Okay, Indian tradition. Political freedom is essential for spiritual freedom, but it is not the end of the line. Political freedom is just a start to attain the spiritual freedom. Analysis of Indian philosophical tradition with European point of view. He analyzed the Indian philosophical tradition with the European point of view, analyzed the European philosophical tradition with the Indian point of view. That is why he was able to attain, he was able to deduct whatever he said in his various books. The important question can be asked like Sri Aurobindo's idea of supermind implies that Darwinian theory is relevant, hence education cannot be do much. No, this is wrong. He doesn't say anything like that. But whatever he says is written here in the option 2. The task of a teacher is to uplift the awakened consciousness of human being. A human being who is spiritually conscious and in his initial stage, the task of a teacher is to uplift him towards that ultimate goal of human being. A teacher has to integrate psychology, biology and education. No, this is wrong. Education can achieve its divine purpose through meditation. It is also wrong. He was not in the opinion that only meditation, the traditional Indian meditation can do the whole things. He was of the opinion that there should be a mixture. The materialistic world around us is a reality, and we have to accept that. We have to get ahead of it in order to achieve the super consciousness.